Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
5:07 on this Tuesday morning, the second day of January 2024. Happy New Year to one and all. It's O'Connor and Company, your favorite morning show. It's really the only morning show in America worth listening to. Coming up at 7:05. It's true. I've listened to the others, honestly. It's not even close. 7:05, Sarah Perry from Heritage Foundation. Look into what was behind Governor DeWine's veto of that bill to protect children from mutilation. I'm dying to find out. 7:35, our pal Bethany Mandel, latest out of Israel. And at 8:05, Denise Rooker-Krepp, an attorney in D.C. who wants to focus on what's gone wrong in D.C. with regard to sentencing, criminal justice, law and order, and whether there's any way to turn this ship around this year. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Happy New Year, Julie.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad you're back.
Thanks to Andrew Langer for sitting in yesterday. Needed a quick breather after a whirlwind, a flurry of travel there at the end of the year, including a quick trip over the weekend to see my kids in L.A. Sadly, I'm in L.A. and I'm seeing all of this Rose Bowl paraphernalia everywhere. Mm-hmm. My brothers cannot believe that I flew to L.A. New Year's weekend and then flew back on the day of the Rose Bowl, missing the Michigan game in the national championship
semifinal.
My
husband, too, was like, wait, what? Where?
Yeah, I know.
There?
I got all these pictures of all, because all of LA's, decorated with all the Michigan, Alabama Rose Bowl stuff. And I've taken pictures by all of it, and I think that everyone in my family thought I was there for the game. No, sadly, I had to get back. Too much travel. There was a lot of travel in December for the O'Connor fam here. But it was worth it to get back and watch the game in the comfort of my home. Honestly, that game gave me heart failure, though.
Oh.
You and your husband, Darren, who are huge Ohio State Buckeye fans, were sweet enough to text me when things were very tense.
Yes.
You both texted me and let me know that you were rooting for Michigan.
We were.
And I think my response was, I don't think I'm going to make it.
I know.
I don't think I'm going to make it. This is just too much. It's too much.
Such an exciting game.
It was a great game.
Well,
anyway, and congratulations to the Washington Huskies who beat the Texas Longhorns. I went to sleep, of course, right after the game. And so now the national championship will be next week. It's Michigan versus Washington, the two undefeated teams, I guess the way it ought to be. The only two teams in the nation without a loss. And it'll be exciting to see how it ends up. And in the meantime, I know you guys did a little bit of a wrap-up with New Year's Eve, but since a lot of people take New Year's Day off, did you watch all the New Year's Eve festivities? First of all, Julie, did you make it to midnight?
No, of course. Are you kidding? I'm old, and no, and I had to do the radio the next day.
What has happened to us?
9:30.
Do you ever feel guilty? I feel guilty with Meredith sometimes. I'm like, I'm just not going to make it. Although oftentimes she's the
of guilt. Are you kidding? I get up to do the radio. I have no guilt.
Did the boys stay up?
No. I mean, I think, you know what, honestly, I think they made it to midnight. My parents are here, too. So my parents were also like, we're done. We're out of here. So
right.
I think, yeah, no one made it to midnight. So in my family. Isn't that funny?
Do you think Biden made it to midnight? I mean, I saw him there being interviewed by Ryan Seacrest. You think that was pre-recorded?
I do.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think that was done. They told him it was we're almost at midnight. It was really noon.
Yes, exactly.
It's still bright out. Oh, that's
also,
the Secret Service lights.
Jill just did not look happy. So
what was she wearing? What was that? Oh
my gosh!
I mean, I know we're used to her dressing strangely, but only because he was just sitting there with a jacket and an open collar and just looking
like he'd been at the club, right?
Yeah,
he'd been at the country club for the night.
She looks like she rolled in from a very fancy affair in Delaware.
No, it looked like I'm ready for my close-up.
Yeah, it was very Norma Desmond.
It was.
She looked like an aging silent screen star.
She looked
like 30 years after talkies started.
I think that honestly was the ugliest thing she's worn yet to date.
Here's a little sample of Ryan Seacrest. This is the God bless the people, all these news reporters in the media who are fine with the fact that Joe Biden doesn't give them any press conferences or any interviews, or if they do, it's under certain conditions. But meanwhile, Ryan Seacrest gets the exclusive. Here's a little bit of his hard-hitting interview style.
I'm curious, what sort of holiday foods have you been enjoying over the last few days?
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. I've been eating pasta, which I love. Eating a lot of chicken Parmesan. I've been eating all Italian foods, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
So helpful. I also...
Chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh.
I also love the idea that I've been eating everything put in front of me.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you. That language.
That line
is fascinating.
So revealing. Yes. Like at the home when they bring his tray in.
What's this
You know?
now? Oh, it's time to eat again? All right, whatever it is they put in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to the kitchen and making himself some mac and cheese or something. It's not happening.
I was surprised, though, that it
by the
included
way,
things that need to be chewed.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Well, spaghetti, pasta, not really.
Well,
You can
but
sort of
chicken
use your tongue
parm,
on
certainly.
that. Yeah,
Unless
chicken
it's
parm.
put in a blender.
They could cut it up for him.
Maybe.
It's interesting. He and his son have a lot in common because one of Hunter's problem is he ate everything that was put in front of him, too. I saw the laptop. It was not. Here's the other very disconcerting thing about this interview with Ryan Seacrest. Did you see what was going on in his hand? Look at the picture here. I texted the whole team, the whole O'Connor and Company team, a picture, a screenshot of Jill's outfit that you can see here in our show prep. But look at what's in his hand. He's got note cards.
Yes.
He had to have note cards, and he
Yes.
had to be briefed and prepped for his interview with Ryan Seacrest, where the
Yes, but
toughest
no one is
question
gonna-
was, what did you eat today?
And that's why Jill is dressed so badly, because they needed something to distract from the note cards.
Right. We don't want
She
people to
looks
see the
so-
note cards.
Doesn't she look so angry?
But
I wonder if Hunter was over in the corner off screen doing a line of Coke.
right.
And that's why she's angry.
Yeah, it's not New Year's Eve at the Biden house until
Right.
a half-dressed Hunter Biden slides down the flagpole, lit up like the ball in Times Square. God. Yeah. Well, he's also, by the way, that was live from St. Croix, right? Wasn't he down in the Virgin Islands at the Gajillionaire
He was
house
at a
when all that was
billionaire's
happening?
house. Some random person he is barely friends with.
Anybody can rent this house, by the way. If you wanted to rent this house, you could. It would cost you upward to $6,000
Is it 6,000?
for the weekend.
Oh, that doesn't sound bad. I mean,
For-
I certainly couldn't afford it. I'm not saying that, but I feel like that's a gigantic mansion.
It is on.
the-
It's on Verbo once in a while. By the way, St. Croix is. But that this is. I don't know if this has been revealed or not, but this is literally a stone's throw away from Jeffrey Epstein's island. Oh. The Epstein Island was part of. It was a private island just off of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands chain. Yeah.
Ah.
He literally went down to the vicinity of Epstein Island right as the list is on the verge of being revealed. So there's a whole lot to unpack there. But anyway, Happy New Year, one and all. Do you have? You know what? I want to talk about my resolutions coming up in a minute.
Sure.
Because I'm doing for people who remember from last year, I'm doing the same. Give up everything that's fun in life. Kind of thing for 90 days.
It's going to be a fun month.
It's going to
be a month.
No, it's 90 days. Was I cranky last year when I did this? No, I felt like I was. Stop! I'm never cranky. I was very St. Francis of Assisi. I was very don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I was
I was cranky.
I was not like
behalf.
the Pharisees who wear
That's
the ash
it.
on
I
my
was
head.
cranky on your behalf.
You
I'm
were
sorry.
Cranky. Exactly.
I'm
You were
always
angry
cranky.
at God for my sacrifice. It's all right. The stigmata is still showing. All right, so a little bit more on New Year's and resolutions and what we expect out of 2024. It's going to be great. 24 is. It's not going to be a problem at all.
Great.
First, though, it's 5:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s. Happy New Year, Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
WMAL. Making sense of social media. Because big tech can't be trusted. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
So Happy New Year, everyone, and good luck with all your resolutions. I know that the gym is going to be really a great scene today when you go work out. It's going to be all the amateurs will be in with their brand new spandex.
Yes, exactly. Brand new with the tags on.
Good luck, everybody, at the gym. I'll be working out at home. Thank you. But I'm exercise is part of my resolutions. I always try to sort of. But last year, my plan part of my resolutions last year. So actually, it's a good time to reflect on what you succeeded at last. Like part of my resolutions last year was to do Bible in a year.
Yeah.
With Father Mike Schmitz, and I did it. I did Bible in a year.
Oh,
so I completed that.
Good for you.
Thank you. And I also I was to train for a half marathon, which I did train for. For a marathon. I wanted to train for a marathon, which I did train for a marathon, but I never ran a marathon.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened. Wait, did you?
I had, and remember I stepped on that hot piece of charcoal, and it burned the bottom of my foot. It took me out of the training.
Yeah, you were. Were you?
Like Heather Hunter's laughing at all of my distress.
Were you barefoot?
Yeah, I was on a flip-flop. I was in flip-flops with the charcoal grill. It was the first weekend I had my charcoal grill, and one of the hot charcoal briquettes came out of the bottom of the chimney thing that you heat. Yeah. And it landed on the top of my foot, and I kicked it off, which kicked my flip-flop off. And then when I stood on it. So the bottom of my foot had a giant...
Which you kept showing us.
Yes, thank God.
I remember you kept showing us.
Yes, I remember.
I did not want to see that.
Well, I couldn't wear shoes for a while. It was bad. Oh, I haven't told you this. Speaking of not wearing shoes, Julie, I forgot to tell you this because of all of our vacation and travel. When I emceed the Service Academy Christmas Ball down at Quantico. Remember, I told you I was doing this event,
right?
And and it's all these parents of kids who are in at West Point or Naval Academy or Air Force Academy, and anyway, it's beautiful. It was the Marine Corps Museum is a great setting, and this woman came up with a Christmas present for me.
Oh,
and she said, "I listen to the show all the time, and I heard you talking to Julie about how you take your shoes off on an airplane."
Oh,
remember? This is the stuff that sticks with our listeners.
So
this
gross.
side.
No, okay, hold on. I want to remind everyone. It's not that you take your shoes off, which is revolting enough. It's the fact that you then will go to the bathroom without your shoes. That's the part that is. Okay, so go on. What
I recognize that it's gross. I'm not trying to.
What'd she get you? Did she get you airplane
She's a
slippers?
flight attendant for Delta Airlines. And she brought me a little gift package of the slippers and an overnight bag that they give out to the international travelers in first class.
She was so grossed out.
Yes,
she was. By knowing that you went to the bathroom in an airplane without your shoes on, that she brought you airplane slippers. I love that woman.
And she turned to Meredith and she says, remember how he talked about how he doesn't wear his... And, of course, Meredith doesn't listen to the show. As she says, she gets Larry O'Connor's show 24 hours a day. So she just, Meredith politely nods along. Yeah. So she walks away, and Meredith looks at me and says, "You told people on the air that you go to the bathroom," because she hates it. I'm not going to put my shoes on every time I have to go to the bathroom. I have a very small bladder. I have a very active kidney.
That's why you buy slip-on shoes.
Well, this wonderful woman whose son goes to West Point.
You better use them.
I forgot to bring them with me on this last
trip, but I will.
Unbelievable. No, but I will. But anyway, it just reminded me of the fact that I hurt my foot and I couldn't actually run the marathon. But I did run a half marathon last year, I ran the Army 10-miler. And so I'm renewing that. I want to run the Marine Corps Marathon. Okay. I'm renewing that New Year's resolution. And then I'm doing the Exodus 90 disciplines. We'll get into the details of the things that I'm giving up, because the next 90 days, it's the 90 days leading up to Easter, so it's like Lent on steroids. And it just so happens the count back of 90 days from Easter is January 1st. So it all started yesterday, and I'll share you all the things that I'm giving up.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with that program, and you're right. You joyfully did it last year.
I felt like it was well. And I'm leading you have like a group of men, and last year I did one that I just got thrown together with a lot of other men. It was fine, but I'm actually leading a group this year, including I don't think I can reveal who they are because I haven't asked their permission, but it's several men
some of your
in
friends.
media. It's my friends, but like some of them are guests on our show. Some of them are
good.
columnists. They're conservative media people.
So these are all men you chose.
I reached out, and some of them reached out to their friends as well.
Is there a women's version of this?
There is. It's called Fiat. It's not quite as rigorous as this one, but there's a thing called Fiat. It's a sisterhood. It's centered around Mary and prayer and things like that. Our group is called the St. Francis de Sales Warriors because St. Francis de Sales is the patron saint of journalists.
Oh, that's great.
And we're all political journalists here in D.C. Anyway, here's what we're doing. You make an hour each day as a holy hour, and it's for quiet contemplation, scripture reading, prayer, but you designate an entire hour of just silence. Silence and prayer and readings. You make a morning offering. You have a nighttime examination of your day, kind of like you're preparing for confession. You take cold showers, only cold showers, like a monk. Like a monk in the desert, you take cold showers.
Does it have to be cold, or can it just be not hot?
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold. Yeah,
no.
Yesterday was rough. Avoid unnecessary smartphone use, unnecessary computers. So unnecessary means if it's not work-related or if you're not communicating with loved ones. Okay, so like yesterday when we were texting about the Michigan game, that's work-related.
Sure. Yeah.
Give up video games, give up television, give up alcohol, give up soda and sweet drinks, give up snacking between meals, give up desserts or sweets, listen only to music that lifts the soul to God, give up unnecessary purchases, and then you exercise at least 3 times a week, and then you treat Wednesdays and Fridays like it's a Friday in Lent, which means no meat and fasting and that sort of thing. And that's for 90 days we do that. And if you're wondering how I watched the Michigan game yesterday, on Sundays and on liturgical feast days on the Catholic calendar, because there's certain saints that are like big feast days, holy days of obligation, you're allowed to relax one of the disciplines. And yesterday, the first day of the disciplines happened to be a feast day for Our Lady of the Mother of God. So I was able to choose one thing, and I chose watching the Michigan
television
game.
would be very hard for someone in the media because you can watch the news.
I can watch news clips for work-related research, but I can't just sit idly and watch TV. And I can't just have news running on in the background or anything like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I know. It's rough. And I did the one thing I allowed myself to watch. And again, it's like, listen, here's the thing. If you only do 85 out of 90 days, that's a huge accomplishment, right?
Sure.
So it's like perfection is not the goal here. It's to try to push yourself and see what you can accomplish and how
it's
much
very
you can
hard.
do.
I think of it as hard because also you have to keep up with things like pop culture on this show, and you have to.
True.
Anyway, it's just I think it would be extra difficult for you.
Well,
but you do it, and I've seen you do it. So
I'm looking forward to it. And I do it with joy and love, and I won't complain about it. And if I do, smack me, because
no, you won't.
Not supposed to be a Pharisee.
I'll be grumpy on your behalf.
Appreciate
How's that sound?
Well, that sounds like a typical day. Yeah. It's 5:25 WMAL traffic and weather. Coming up, if you missed it, Jamie Raskin took a full-on head-first shot at Clarence Thomas and the Supreme Court. And there was a veiled threat in what he had to say. If Clarence Thomas doesn't recuse himself, well, what are we going to do about it? We, Democrats in Congress. We're going to flesh this out a bit next on WMAL.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
5:36. It's O'Connor and Company on this Tuesday morning. It's the second day of January. Happy New Year, one and all. Let's get it going. We got to seize this year while we still can. Coming up later in the program at 7:05, Sarah Perry of Heritage Foundation. Take a look at that odd decision by Governor DeWine over transgender procedures. 7:35, our friend Bethany Mandel, who has really just devoted her entire time to the families that are still struggling after the October 7th terrorist attacks in Israel. 8:05, Denise Rucker-Krepp, a D.C. attorney. She was formerly on the D.C. Advisory Neighborhood Commission, talk about the crime in D.C. and sentencing protocols and law and order and all that jazz. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Julie, Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin used to be my congressman.
Oh, dear.
Actually, Jamie Raskin is Bethany Mandel's congressman. We'll have to talk to her about that. He appeared on CNN State of the Union this weekend and was asked, first of all, he's, of course, celebrating Colorado and Maine keeping Donald Trump off of the ballot.
Yes,
that Secretary of State up in Maine, she's facing impeachment now because even Democrats in Maine recognize how outrageous this is.
It is completely outrageous.
Several Democrats stepped forward. This is 100% election tampering. The fact that this is even in the news cycle, like even if this gets overturned, and I'm sure that it will, they're pushing this narrative to just add to the layers of illegitimacy of Donald Trump as a candidate.
Yes.
So please understand that. This is information warfare. This is a PSYOPs program because most of the people backing this, Jamie Raskin is evil, but he's not stupid. He knows the Constitution. He knows that this is completely outside the bounds. Jamie Raskin may want to live in a world where the left just twists the Constitution to accommodate their warped agenda, but that doesn't mean he's not aware that that's what he's doing, and that is what this does.
Yes.
And they know that, but understand it doesn't matter to them because this is just another way for the news cycle to talk about how Donald Trump is illegitimate. So even if it gets overturned, they've accomplished their mission, which is to add yet another layer of so-called Trump fatigue. Yeah. Where it's like, aren't you just tired of all of the drama around Donald Trump? Well, you're making the drama.
That's right.
You're creating
They always do this. Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's not like Trump doesn't aid and abet the creation of the drama around him, but so much of it is created and pushed by the left. In fact, Jonathan Karl of ABC News did exactly that this weekend, where we'll talk about that a little later in the program. Anyway, here's Jamie Raskin asked point blank about whether the Supreme Court or members of the Supreme Court should recuse themselves on these questions of Donald Trump.
Should any of the justices recuse themselves if they take this up?
Well, finally, the Supreme Court has developed what they're describing as a code of ethics. It's not binding in the sense that they're not going to anyone else. They could have gone to, for example, circuit court justices. You could have had state Supreme Court justices.
Can we pause this for a minute?
Panel,
because he's such a disingenuous liar. There's already been a code of ethics that the Supreme Court had. I know many cases where various justices have, in fact, recused themselves because there's a direct or indirect conflict of interest, whether it's a firm they used to. This has happened on the left and the right. There's plenty of cases that we've talked about over the course of the last several years where one of the justices have recused themselves. So it's not finally they've come up with it, but that's bull.
Right.
That's absolute bull. All right. And he's filibustering here. He's like dragging on the answer. The question was very simple. Should one of the justices recuse themselves? Here, let him finish.
You could have had state Supreme Court justices on a panel. But so they're deciding for themselves, again, whether they're in violation of their code of ethics. But I think
by the way, do you know why they're deciding for themselves? Because the Constitution has separation of powers, Jamie.
That's right.
Listen to the contempt in his voice. Well, they're just deciding for themselves. That's right, because you can't tell the judicial branch what to do. Right. And the executive branch can't tell the judicial branch what to do. There's a separation of powers. We don't want a world where people in the Senate, the leader of the Senate, can just do something like...
And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Terrifying.
Yeah, see, this is what the Democrats do with the judicial branch. It's a separate branch of government, Jamie Raskin. And you're not allowed to tell them what to do. That our founders had that set up. But he's so the contempt in his face. Well, they're just deciding these rules for themselves. Yeah, that's what separation of powers looks like, a-hole. Sorry. I apologize. It's way too early for that. I filled in for Levin last week. It's still in my system.
I can tell.
All right, let's let Raskin finally get to the answer here.
Of their code of ethics. But I think anybody looking at this in any kind of dispassionate, reasonable way would say if your wife was involved in the big lie and claiming that Donald Trump had actually won the presidential election, had been agitating for that and participating in the events leading up to January 6th, that you shouldn't be participating.
So he should recuse himself.
He should. Oh, he absolutely should recuse himself. The question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself?
What do we do if he doesn't? What does that mean?
Right.
What do we do if he doesn't?
You have released the whirlwind.
This is what they do. It's threats. It's threats. It's threats. What will we do? You can't do anything.
They will destroy. They will destroy the country. That's
also,
what they'll do.
Let me unpack one other huge lie here, or I just want you to see the sleight of hand in what they're doing here, because we're told this is about insurrection. And the insurrection, we're told, was led by Donald Trump, even though he has not been charged with insurrection. And we're told the insurrection is the violent and even nonviolent events of January 6th, right? Where over 1,000 people have been arrested. How many of them have been arrested for insurrection, which is a federal law of violate? None of them, not one of them. But we're told that that's all insurrection, right? So it was January 6th was the insurrection. And Donald Trump led the insurrection, even though nobody's been charged with insurrection. But listen to what he did here. Listen to what he did. Clarence Thomas should recuse himself. Can we one more time, real fast, the shortcut here, if we could, Michael, see it? Let's listen.
Well, he absolutely should recuse himself. The question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself?
But what did he say right before that?
He said
his wife took part in the big lie.
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, by the way, that's not true, number one.
Right.
Number two, and you know how I know it's not true? Because she was asked if she finally did testify behind closed doors in the January 6th committee. Go ahead and look at the January 6th committee findings, which was a kangaroo court. There's nothing in there that says Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, was in any way guilty of any crime whatsoever or was involved in anything that happened on January 6th. But listen to what he's saying here now. If you believed, like Ginny Thomas did, like I did, like Mark Levin did, like Ted Cruz did, like millions of people did, if you believe that there was something fishy about the 2020 election and the way that it was carried out, which there absolutely objectively speaking was,
yes.
But if you believe that there were issues with the way the election was carried out, you must recuse yourself from polite.
And you're guilty of insurrection.
Guilty of insurrection, and you cannot participate in polite conversation about politics, and certainly not in an official manner.
Right.
That's what he has done. So it's gone well beyond people breaking windows and assaulting police officers on January 6th. It's gone beyond grandma walking through a door that was held open on January 6th. It's gone well beyond Donald Trump's speech where he purposely, legitimately, and deliberately said we're going to walk to the Capitol peacefully. It's gone well beyond all of that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you held an opinion that Jamie Raskin disagrees with, you're excluded from society and any kind of decision-making power in our government. That's where, and that's why Clarence Thomas needs to stand firm, and every single justice should come out and reprimand Jamie Raskin for this illegitimate and dangerous rhetoric. But they won't.
Dangerous rhetoric.
It is. I'm sorry, I ranted a little there.
Well, I mean, look, but again, you played that clip also of Schumer saying you will pay the price.
A whirlwind.
And let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the price.
All right, let's talk about it in a minute.
And
let's talk about it in a minute. You're right. We should talk about it. But first, Jamie Whitten wants to talk about it because it's 5:40.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh. You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Yeah, that was Chuck Schumer, of course, threatening Supreme Court justices if they dare to examine the constitutionality of Roe v. Wade. Spoiler alert, they did, and they finally overturned it. But you wanted to make a point that this dangerous rhetoric that now we're hearing from Jamie Raskin.
Then we had endless protests outside the Supreme Court. Only the conservative members of the court, incredibly disruptive protests outside their homes, and one showed up with all the weapons one needs to take someone hostage, and zip ties and duct tape, and I believe there was a gun and a knife, and there was almost, the media barely covered it, and there were no statements that came out from Schumer saying, "Oops, sorry, I might have incited the attempt to murder a Supreme Court justice. And then there was no deployment of extra guards for the Supreme Court justices.
And no one from the Justice Department has arrested anybody for these. They're illegal protests. They continue to this day in front of Amy Coney Barrett, in front of Clarence Thomas's house. And it's all a reaction to these Democrat activists who are urinating on the Constitution. There is a separation of powers. It all started with Barack Obama at the State of the Union, who called out the Supreme Court. But it's not just
Democrat activists. It's these sitting congressman leaders in the Senate. Schumer saying, you'll pay the price, and they certainly have. And
understand, when they talk about extremists, when they talk about insurrectionists who should be excluded from a ticket, shouldn't even be able to run for office, again, it's always Trump is the focus, but they're talking about you, because now he's targeting Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny Thomas, because she had an opinion that frankly was mainstream within conservative thinking, that the 2020 election broke every norm that we've ever had for typical voting protocols, which it did because of the pandemic. You may say, well, it's because of the pandemic. I don't care why, but it acknowledged the fact that we did break all of our known protocols.
Well, not to mention, because of the Twitter files, thank God for Elon Musk, who revealed what occurred between the federal government and these tech companies to bury information about Biden and his son. Of course, there were shenanigans going on with the election. People didn't have the facts, and it was covered up, and it was coordinated. That's election interference.
That's right. And because you have that opinion, according to Jamie Raskin, you must be excluded from any official proceeding with regard to the upcoming election. And here's the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, and Jamie Raskin saying, yes, Justice Thomas should recuse himself. The question is, what will we do if he doesn't? Which, of course, legally he can't do anything because of separation of powers. So if he's raising the specter of what will we do, when, again, he's not stupid, he may be evil, but he's not stupid. He knows that there is no legal recourse for him as a member of Congress if Justice Thomas does not recuse himself. So by raising that specter and saying the question is, what will we do if he doesn't, he is inciting people. He continues to incite people. And I tremble at what that looks like as all of these things unfold in the next months leading up to Election Day, just 11 months away. Are you excited? I am. It's 5:53.